Hi, my name is Sean Lingus. I'm a senior reporter with CyberScoop, and thanks for watching CyberTalks TV. I'm pleased to be joined right now by Chris Krebs. He's the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and has been doing a lot of work on election security over the last few years, and particularly in the run-up to the vote next month. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me on, and happy National Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
It's a big month for a lot of reasons. Chris, I want to start by giving our viewers some perspective on how far election security has come in the last 4 years. As you're well aware, in the aftermath of the Russian interference efforts in 2016, there was some finger pointing. There were state and local officials were taken aback by some of the lack of communication at the federal level. And one state even accused DHS of hacking it erroneously. As an impartial observer, I've noticed that there have been a lot of improvements in the last 4 years, objectively speaking. There's closer communication between your office and state and local officials. There's a lot more threat sharing and defensive measures that are in place. For you, what was the turning point in fostering that greater cooperation?
Well, I just have to make one quick point before jumping in. To say that we're a couple weeks out from Election Day, I think misses the bigger point that we're actually in election month. At this point, over 6 million votes have already been cast. The state of Wisconsin, for instance, I think it's already on the order of half of the absentee ballots that have been requested have already been returned. So we're seeing more early voting than ever before on the way to what looks like historic voter turnout. So for us, I think when I think back, when I first walked in the door again to DHS, this is my second tour here in March of 2017, it really struck me how we were still working to figure out how, frankly, elections work. And it's not something that I think most folks pay that much attention to, but under the Constitution, the states are responsible for administering the individual elections within their jurisdictions. And so when you think back to 2016, here at DHS, where we're the cybersecurity agency, we didn't really know A, how they worked, or B, whom to work with. And so we spent a lot of time in the 2017, 2018 time period really building a network, figuring out who we're supposed to be working with, and that's secretaries of state, state election directors, and building trust with them so that they would share information with us. They would allow us to share information with them. They would allow us to help them improve their security. And so I steal this from General Mattis and before him, President Washington, but we really had to take an approach of listen, learn, help, lead. And it took some time, but as you point out, right now we have a vibrant, a very robust community of practice in election security, all 50 states, thousands of jurisdictions, the private sector, other federal partners, international partners helping us out. And that's what gives me a lot of confidence that the individual voter, your vote, is going to be secure in 2020.
Chris, walk me through a little bit, if you would, the what I'll call the war room that I assume your agency CISA has set up leading into Election Day. As you rightly point out, their voting is already underway. We're already in election month, but Election Day itself, and then in the aftermath of that, because we know that we need to be a little more patient this year in counting votes. Walk me through how your staff are going to be set up to deal with any threats that come in, and how you're going to kind of quarterback those operations.
Yeah, so we here at CISA have already been in an enhanced operational posture now for a couple weeks. We started that 45 days out from November 3rd. And the idea is additional reporting with our partners in the intelligence community and law enforcement. So as they see things that may be happening over there, we can distill down, run quick analysis, and share it with our partners. In the week or so in advance of November 3rd, we'll be setting up and activating our operations center here in the DC area, where we'll bring in partners from the intelligence community, again, law enforcement, Department of Defense, the Election Assistance Commission, the Postal Service, big players this time around, as well as some of the political campaigns and the private sector. Gives us an opportunity to share that information in near real time to understand what's happening, really trying to get to that point of identifying issues, detecting issues at the soonest, smallest opportunity, and then making sure that it doesn't spiral into a bigger issue. And then in the advance of the day or so in front of November 3rd, so that would be Monday the 2nd, we'll have a situational awareness room where thousands of jurisdictions, thousands of officials across the country are able to log in and give us what they're seeing in real time, any issues. And this isn't just cyber. There will also be physical events. If you think back to 2018, there was a series of tornadoes that ran through Nashville, Tennessee. So election officials have to deal with a string of threats, a string of hazards, and they really are natural risk managers. You've probably heard me say that one before. But they've got hundreds of different contingency plans built up, and cyber is just one of them. But it is, again, based on our experience in 2016, it is one of those really one of those threats that's got us on on our toes.
Mm-hmm. I talked to Tom Burt recently, who, as you know, is one of the leads for election security and other issues at Microsoft, and he told me that he expects, given the different processes that are happening this year with voting, with expanded mail-in voting, and the patience that we're all going to have, he said that could be ripe ground for disinformation in the days after the election. How long after the election will you be in that enhanced posture to watch out for those kinds of threats?
So it's going to be an open-ended process. It's depending first on what our stakeholders, remember, listen, learn, help, lead. We're going to listen to our stakeholders. And if they want to keep that capability up and running, that shared that situational awareness room, we'll extend that. So I expect that to be probably through the week. But then our operations center with all our other partners, that will most likely that will go through the certification process. And it's a good reminder that you have here that the results that come in or maybe don't come in on November 3rd, election night, it's known, and I really just say that's the last day to vote. Mm-hmm. Those are unofficial results. It takes time to count the paper. And on our message, our 3 Ps, you see it behind me here, are we want you to be prepared, have a voting plan, participate. If you can volunteer to be a poll worker, please get out there and help. And last thing, patience. Let the pros, let those election officials count up that paper, and then sometimes they'll count them twice.
Yeah. Recently, in a takedown that Facebook did of alleged Russian inauthentic activity, the Internet Research Agency, which, as you know, but for our viewers, was the so-called troll farm that interfered in the 2016 election. Facebook took a bunch of those accounts down recently, and in doing so, they made the warning, the advisory to be vigilant for hack and leak operations. That they pointed out that stuff like this can pivot quickly, and just to be vigilant. I'm wondering, with only so many days to go till election day, even though we're already voting, how concerned are you about a last-minute hack and leak operation, and do you have more confidence that the news media will handle it better this time than in 2016? Because I would argue that one of the propagators of WikiLeaks in 2016 was the coverage by national news outlets. I'd note that the Washington Post has released some guidelines on covering hack and leak. I think that's great. I think more news organizations should do that. But I want to get your take, Chris, on how prepared the news media is and what you're doing as an organization to be vigilant for that 11th hour hack and leak from adversaries.
So ultimately, the last line of defense here, the last measure of resilience in American elections is the American voter. And so what that means is bad guys are going to do bad things. They're going to keep trying to do bad things. They're going to try to hack into political campaigns. They're going to try to hack into news organizations. They've done these things over the years all over the world. So, I'm not saying, I'm not prepared to say that it's completely out of the question that we couldn't see a hack and leak. The point here is that if it does happen, you as the voter have to be prepared and be an informed voter and say, you know what, it seems a little dodgy to me that this online journal that I've never heard about is spewing some info about one of the candidates. It just doesn't seem right. And So working with the FBI, we've issued a series of public service announcements, and one of them is to prepare the voter, the American people, for a hack and leak operation. We don't have any indication necessarily that one is in the offing or imminent tomorrow, but this is definitely in those skill sets or those tools that that the Russians have used, the Iranians have used. And it does go much bigger than just a hack and leak operation. They are also trying to influence media, influence narratives, stories online, social media. But I'll say this, one of the things that I'm most excited about, or maybe the better way to put it is most proud of the American public-private partnerships that we've been talking about for 15 years here in the national security space, is the progress we've made. The social media companies have, you talked about the Facebook operation the other day. There's a steady stream of Facebook deplatforming operations. Twitter's doing it. YouTube's doing it. There's an emergence of it's not just the federal government, it's the private sector, it's security researchers, it's academia, it's international partners. So we've got more of a coordinated pushback and response in the furtherance of a secure 2020 election than ever before.
Chris, I think I have time for one more question. I wanted to get your take quickly on, we talked about the improvements that have been made in the last 4 years. How do you think this can continue through, whether there's a change of administration or as the years go on? I think people in the election security space want to see that partnership continue and outlive whoever is in office. How is the structure in place for that to happen?
Well, look, everything we do here at CISA, whether it's cybersecurity, physical security, or whatever, is a nonpartisan effort. I work with Kim Wyman in Washington, who's a Republican Secretary of State, just like I do Jim Kondos in Vermont, who's a Democratic Secretary of State. And we look at this as defending democracy, not taking up partisan sides in a political discourse. So I've got all the confidence in the world that this is going to be an enduring partnership, and it's built to last. And the last thing I'll say is that the American people need to have confidence, not just in the fact that we're doing our jobs here and we're defending the election, but also that their vote is secure. We have done, in partnership with our state and local partners, we have made significant progress. The best point I'll close out with is in 2016, 82 some odd % of votes cast had a paper record associated with that vote, whether it's paper ballot or an absentee or whatever, what have you. Right now, we're on track to over 92% of vote cast. And that's a great thing because it gives the election officials the opportunity to have something they can touch and go back and recount if they need to. We had 5 states that had machines statewide that didn't have paper ballots. We're down to 1 state. We're making progress. It's not happening overnight necessarily, but we're going to keep plowing forward. And I'm again confident that the American voters' vote is secure as possible.
Chris, thanks so much.